Right, welcome to the podcast, Craig. For the uninitiated, who is Craig James?
Who is Craig James? In summary, the easy answer is I'm Craig James. I'm the national sales manager for EGA, for the flooring division for the UK and Ireland.
Right, and how long have you been there? I should know this question, but I do know the answer to this, but I'm going to let you answer it.
I thought it would have been in your diary there, Tom. I thought that would have been a monumental date for yourself when I was door knocking with yourself. But no, 10 years actually. This last month, 10 years last month. So I'm due at 10 soon.
Right. So where did you start with EGA? Well, I know you were door knocking, but you weren't just a double glazing salesman, not knocking on doors trying to flog some flooring. How did it start with your journey with EGA?
Yeah, so I mean, with myself, I came into, EGA was actually the only job I applied for from a previous stint, self-employment for a couple of years. And it was somewhere as a business where I'd actually known because of like working merchant trade prior. And when I applied for the job, it was for an account manager. And on the flooring division, we'll have quite large areas. And this one was for the Northern Territory. So it was basically an area which was Birmingham North, everything from Birmingham as far north as you can go.
For north.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm already in the north, but even further north, if the business was there, it would even mean Inverness or whatever the case may be. And the job was a Northern Territory manager, predominantly looking after distribution. So that would be the kind of the focus area at the time. And like I say, that was in late 2012.
Okay. And products wise, what products are available at them? Well, did you start with, and then what's kind of new, if that makes sense? Explain if someone that doesn't know who EGA are, what do you do?
Well, I mean, firstly, there's a wider question, I guess, around EGA, which I think there's an industry question about flooring. So some people will know who EGA is in the flooring trade, some people won't, but we're also a wider business than just flooring. Flooring, as it happens, is actually one of the smaller divisions of the overall EGA business. So we also produce, chipboard, MDF, furniture product, worktops. As a business, we also have some side businesses which support the main companies, such as a timber recycling division called Timber Park. And then, of course, we also have like some ties in with a forestry division as well. So quite a wide business, which kind of feeds itself. It's this kind of full circle to, source timber, produce, and then, of course, recycle where possible. But then just closer to home for flooring, which is where I'm currently sitting, we're a flooring producer, probably one of the major importers in the UK. In majority, we produce laminate flooring, which would be 90% of what we do as a commodity core product. Within that, we'll have different price points and different technologies, such as water-resistant product, which a lot of the manufacturers are doing as well. And then we also have some, should we say, mixed modular floors, which are application-led. One in particular is a product category called design flooring, and it's a wood-based, I would say it's a wood-based LVT solution, to put it in a very simple way.
Yeah, class. And you've got a factory up here in the northeast, which I've had the privilege of going round. That doesn't make the flooring, but it's certainly an interesting place to go and have a look. How many other factories around the globe now?
Yeah, so we've got, there's a lot of factories around the globe. We've actually got 20, I think, on last count, 20 production facilities. The most recent one was our addition in North America, which is the Lexington plant. So predominantly we've been based in, of course, in Europe, and then we've been moving further afield into North America. We made an acquisition a number of years ago in South America as well. But the Lexington plant is the newest one. We also have quite a new plant in Poland as well, which is a predominantly around worktops, actually. So it's one of the most advanced, if not the most advanced, worktop plant in Europe. The plant here in Hexham, as you rightly said, it doesn't produce flooring. It's mostly MFC, MDF, and structural flooring, such as chipboard and peel clean, which is a categories more synonymous with the building products industry. And where we produce our flooring is a lovely place in northern Germany, very nice town, very cold. No good if you've got a haircut like mine, Tom, of course. But that's based in a town called Wismar, which is on the Baltic. And if you're from the northeast, it's exactly that. It's Baltic. It's very cool when you go there. That's the predominant home for flooring production. We also have a production plant in Russia, which will do some small production locally, of course. But in majority, most of our flooring is produced in Germany and Wismar.
Class, okay. And laminate flooring's been around 10, 20, many years. And what changes have you seen while being at Egger? What makes the products a little bit different, or just different to the usual laminate flooring you see out in the market? What makes Egger different?
Well, I mean, firstly, I think to address the question on the change in that, I think, coming into Egger, and actually flooring guy, it should be known as well that prior to that I was aware of flooring, and I was kind of I'd sold it in part, but I wasn't solely a flooring guy. And so coming in, with a blank canvas, or green as grass, whichever you want to describe, I come in as a guy who knew flooring but didn't have a deep knowledge of the flooring industry. And what I've probably seen as an outside perception was, I think laminate flooring was definitely seen as a category which is purely a DIY product. It was very cost effective. You think back to the kind of the 90s and early 2000s where people were just selling 3-strip beach, and it was kind of like a really kind of poor kind of DIY category. But actually, when you come into it, and the development over the last 10 years or so as well is very different. Not just Egger, but of course, even with competitors, we're looking and selling and producing more high value product than ever before. So the category certainly changed. We see people like Egger and like I say, some of the competitors making a really good go at even creating brands within the actual sector as well. And also the technology has advanced completely as well. There's product out there which is very, authentic looking. If you're looking at a timber decor or even something which comparative to tile can look very authentic. And as we see the category developing, we're also seeing trends as we move towards flooring matching with furniture products, for example, which is a producer who makes furniture and worktops. We're looking to expand on that all the time, and it's very different to what I first thought it was when I come into the trade. We really thought it was kind of, like I say, a commodity product, but there is other areas where kind of high ticket items, and the development of the category has been quite significant over the last decade.
Class. And how do clients buy from you? Because it's not the conventional, you've got pallets and pallets of it sat behind you in a warehouse and you ship it round. For the uninitiated, how does Egger supply flooring to the UK market? How does John the fitter or Tony the floor shop owner buy the flooring?
Yeah. Or Tom the floor shop owner.
Oh yeah, we're going to come on to that, so don't worry about that.
But
I haven't forgotten about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny as well because 10 years ago, our route was completely distribution. That was pretty much where we were. We did have some direct customers as well, but in the majority, we were an importer because the flooring is produced in Germany, and we're an importer who predominantly sell through the distribution channel. But that's also developed a little bit as well. Because some customers have changed as well. Some with direct customers as well have also became better known online. For example, the e-commerce side has obviously blown up in the last 10 years, and I think the UK has probably got one of the most advanced flooring e-commerce areas in Western Europe. So that's become quite a big part for Egger. We're very much in the distribution basket still with the partners who we all know, and obviously that would be independent retailers or contractors buying through the distribution channel. And then a development we've probably seen more recently over the last kind of 5 years or so is where brand has become available in one of the big DIY chains in the UK as well. So we can sell a product effectively through a number of different channels. And what we try to do to protect that is we offer different branding opportunities within, depending on the sector that we deal with. So within with direct customers, we have a brand area called Egger Home, which is basically for a one-step route to market, if you will. Customer buys from Egger and then resells directly himself. And then we have our Egger Pro assortment, which is basically buying from Egger to then go into the distribution channel and then be resold through the network as well. So it just means that we're trying to, I guess, protect each other is the best way to do it. So then, people can have an EGA offer, but it means that depending on what the offer is, it stays competitive within the market based on, however somebody wants to buy.
Yeah, brilliant. I think we'll go back onto the subject about Tom, the floor owner, because obviously we have a history of. I used to buy a lot of EGA products, and that's one of the reasons why you're on the show. We've had a good working relationship. Obviously, I don't do that anymore, but I wanted your view for people that, let's say, class themselves as not a salesperson. Not that I'm classing you as that. Because you are very much in sales. I'm very much in sales. And why do you think it's important to follow up and be consistent, and then explain to the listeners why I'm asking that question?
Yeah, it's very interesting question, Tom. I think from a personal side, I'm in EGA for 10 years, but I've always been in a sales role. It's something which I've always wanted to do, and I do believe that if you strip it all back and you look at the basic principle of sales, it's about people at the end of the day, and how you execute that is dependent on the salesperson. You can get very different type of salesperson people, but there's no right and wrong way to do it. I think fundamentally it comes to building relationships, whether that be this new way of doing it on things like WebEx or old way, which is door rapping or picking the telephone up, and I'm a firm believer of that. And I guess my tactic hasn't really changed so much during my whole career, from being a very young sales guy working in a timber merchant at 17 to where I sit today on your podcast. And it's funny you should ask, because when I came into EGA, as you rightly know, Tom, as you asked the question, I think I'll say politely, we'll be diplomatic for the sake of your listeners. You diplomatically didn't want to see us on the first time I come to your shop. I didn't think you had any time.
No, we didn't want laminates. We said, sorry, we don't do laminates. Don't do that laminate stuff. We don't do it.
You don't do laminates, and you didn't want to see me. And I think you were sitting there I think you're in the office on the top floor, so you could look down and just say, this sales guy's coming. We don't do laminates, but it was polite. I have had worse, should we say, replies of people knocking on the door. But yeah, I think it was the third time of asking, Tom, when I came to your shop, that I eventually got a cup of tea off you. I still don't get the ball.
No.
I think the doggies sleep then. But no, I came a few times. I think from our side, from a personal aspect, but also from a business strategy of what we wanted to kind of do and who we wanted to speak to. We wanted to speak to stores and retailers and contractors alike, who would actually, believe in the product, have, the time with which to actually, learn about it, but also, approach to kind of creating partnerships and people who buy for directly, is to create exactly that, partnerships, not transactional approach. We want people who are going to, buy into the actual offer. And I'm not talking about from a financial aspect. I'm talking about from a, just a commercial, or from a, seeing the value in what we do. And that comes from myself. It goes right down to the sales team. And like I say, back to 10 years ago when I was knocking on your door, it wasn't just because I thought, oh, Tom's got a lovely shop here and we're going to push it. I kind of thought an opportunity here, and we could add value to your business, and likewise you could do the same to ours as well. So that's pretty much how that come about. But yes, three times I knocked on your door, and
third time successful. Yeah, and it was great. Brilliant. You delivered everything you said. So yeah, I won't blow smoke, but yeah, we had a great when the shop was there. We really enjoyed using the EGA products, and I think that's it was fun. I can't even remember how it came about, but I'm sure we won't mention names, but to another supplier of a certain laminate flooring, and we basically said, look, we're wanting a partnership, exactly as you said, and they weren't prepared to do a partnership. They were just like, well, you kind of buy stands and that's it. And you said, no, we don't do that, mate. We do partnerships. We're here for the long run, and that's what we did. So yeah, no, it's a great story, and never always take the first no is the lesson.
It's no, without a doubt. It's funny actually, because I've got a little story which is from a it's pre-flooring trade for myself, but quite interesting. I've got a little story on that as well. It was a number of years ago when I was quite a young rep, and at the time I used to work for a very old timber company. That was my first sales gig, and what happened is I was very young. I think I was like 17 or 18. I didn't even look like I was legal enough to drive a car, because I was very young, 17. Not like these days, Tom, where...
Did you have hair?
I had hair. I didn't have a beard. Probably about shorter, and then probably about 3 stone. I thought, well, hey, I say 3 stone. We'll probably know it's a little bit more than that. Maybe it's about 1 stone lighter, actually. So it was a different time altogether. But imagine this kind of man-child driving the car. And at the time, I was working for a merchant which was based in South Tyneside, but they were quite synonymous with high-level joinery product. They could sell really nice joinery-grade timber. That's where I used to work. And I was given a kind of entry-level role as a trainee sales rep. And I basically had to go and see some customers in Cumbria. And at the time, this was at the peak of the foot and mouth pandemic. So I was going through every single side road, tractors for days, you know, the unfortunate sight of seeing the livestock being burnt in the fields. It was a really, really bad time. And going back to my earlier point, this guy I knocked on, really old school joinery shop. And he basically said, I knocked on the door, and he had a problem with the employment I used to work at the time. Knocked on the door, and he told us where to go. Not as polite as you did, Tom. He pretty much told us where to go. And it was the 4th time of knocking when I knocked on his door again as a young lad who just thought, well, I don't care. I'm going to keep going because I've been asked to do this, and you know that's exactly what I'm going to do. And the 4th time he answered the call. He opened the door and he went, "I thought I told you to, you know." He did, and he went. He says, "Well, you better come in then." And that was the very first like kind of example I got a kind of a feel that I can remember of being just keep kind of going and stuff, I guess, and just, you know, keep knocking on the door. And then if people don't want anything to do with you, as long as you're polite and, you know, you're doing it in the right kind of possible way, you'll either get nothing, or which is what you've always had, or you'll potentially get the chance to sit down with somebody and talk a little bit.
That's what I've always found. Focus on the relationship, or focus on the follow-up. Don't worry about anything else. That's what's always won me, what needed to.
$10 follow.
Yeah. So the flooring industry as a whole, what do you feel is the biggest challenge at the moment, excluding supply issues?
Well, supply issues, I'm going to say that we are kind of safeguarded a little bit from that compared to some of that kind of floor coverings. I think everyone has their own problems, but looking just purely from as a laminate flooring producer, we'll put it that way, we are quite free from supply issues to a degree. It does come down to a question of cost in some areas, which I think is still also, you know, kind of rumbling on. We've seen all the challenges of the last year or 18 months. You know, we're talking about in some cases, you know, timber supply, but in majority, chemical costs to logistics. We all know. We'll not upset anyone listening to the podcast. Some old wounds from the summer, especially, but generally speaking, it was frantic. I think we'll have to agree that that's been the biggest challenge as well. And you know, a lot of kind of chemicals that we use in production are also found in you know, Eastern Europe, or in some cases, kind of, you know, Russia and such, and that, and because of the current situation that we'll find ourselves in, that does have an effect on availability of these kind of chemicals and such as well. And I think that's a big challenge at the moment. And yeah, you know, I still believe that from a kind of a commercial aspect, I do believe that there's also some the market's finding itself a little bit as well. I think in the last kind of year, we've seen such high price pressures. I think the category itself of wood flooring is also settling itself in the market as well, because, you know, Mrs. Smith, when it comes down to it, the end user, they have an expectation of price. And if that's, you know, changed significantly over the last kind of 18 months, you know, there needs to be some kind of settled period where people understand what the current prices is for a 7 mil or an 8 mil or a 12 mil or so on and so forth. It's just that settling in period as well. And it's quite uncertain, but, you know, from a producer's point of view, we're quite optimistic. We'll have opportunity. We've got quite a wide route to market in the UK and Ireland, which I mentioned earlier, not just distribution, but specification and you know, kind of other areas. But I think it's you know, it's going to be a challenging kind of 6 to 12 months for next year. I do believe that.
Yeah. And the design floor, what's the difference between that and LVT dryback? You know, apart from well, you can explain. Is it stick down, or what's the differences to the people that don't know what design floor is?
Yeah. So I mean, you know, as a producer, you know, the kind of the company ethos of Ego is more from wood. So the idea is not to suddenly start producing things out of you know, plastic-based product or anything which doesn't have any strong environmental credentials. That's the general idea why we started to make the product in the first place. And I think, you know, the idea behind it was to create an application-led product which would demonstrate value in the market, but also offer some really good USPs which aren't necessarily found in some kind of other products as well. And in principle, it's as opposed to laminate flooring, which the kind of the core board is HDF. In principle, this is a wood fiber core board. So it basically that across the length of the plank, it would have a little bit of flex in it, and it'll be more similar to like an LVT, shall we say, than a laminate would be. So it's somewhere in the middle, and it has some really nice kind of USPs. It's you know, the standard stuff is the fact, you know, it's anti-slip, it's anti-static, it's got no plastic and plasticizers in, so it's an environmentally friendly, it's PEFC certified, and some nice additions that we do have in there. It's a commercial product with a built-in cork underlay as well, so it has this like environmental message, and you know the story around cork as well. It's basically harvested. It's not felled. It falls from the tree, so there's a warmth to it as well. But it's also, like I say, very strong from an environmental aspect as well. And at the moment, we're seeing this being really strong in the specification category. People are really loving it in that area because we can present it and you know, get some real dialogue with specifiers, and we're finding this landing in quite large commercial projects. And it's something that we feel will as it becomes more, I guess, well known in the trade, we'll then look to, you know, launch it in a big way through the distribution channel in the coming, you know, 12 to 18 months.
And with it being cork on the back, is it floated, stuck down? What's the recommended installation on it?
I mean, because one, you know, ease of use, and you know, the fitters might say something different because they might want to do the, you know, 2 days worth of installation. But generally speaking, we would say this can just be it can just be clicked together, and it can just be a floating floor application. So it's less, you know, less preparation time would be the preferred method.
Yeah, class. And at the moment with the current Egger range, what is your favourite product, and what have you got fitted at home?
Well, there's a question for you. I mean, my favourite product, I don't have it fitted at home actually, but there's a reason for it, and I'll tell you the reason why. So,
is it the Boss?
Yeah, Boss. Oh, no, I think my favourite product is it's something which it hasn't really, it's not really a big thing in the UK. But my favourite product that we produce is the technology around this cork product that we produce. We'll have the design flooring, which has a cork back on it, but we also have a side product which is mostly sold in like the DACH region, like in Germany and such, and not so big in the UK. And it's a cork top layer as well, so it's a quieter, warmer floor. And the idea is that underfoot, it's basically a cork top layer with a digital print on it, so it looks like a tile or a timber or whatever. And as a you know, as a product, I believe it's a really nice product and something which will have value. I mean, fundamentally in the UK, as a laminate guy, it's hard for us to admit, but we are a carpet country. I think fundamentally most people have carpet down in the house, and this is something which is a hard flooring offer. It just sits nicely between the two. You know, the benefit of laminate flooring, hard wearing, you know, lasts a long time, you know, good decor choices, so on and so forth. Carpets, of course, are quieter and warmer, and this is something, this cork product that we produce sits somewhere quite nicely in the middle. So that's probably my favourite product with regard to innovation, and something that we're quite proud of. But yeah, in my own house, I would have Aqua Plus down. It's laminate flooring, but it's we produce it where it has a lot more glues and resins in, and it's a much harder product, and it's less permeable to water. And we have that within the laminate flooring category. So we call it Aqua Plus. It's a steam cleanable laminate flooring, which of course isn't something you can do with things like LVT. And similarly to LVT and laminate, this is a category which we feel sits somewhere quite nicely in the middle as well. So that would be me, the one that I have at home.
Brilliant, brilliant. And now, as we're coming to the end of the year, and this podcast will be released January, so when the listeners are listening, it'll be January. What's the game plan for Egger flooring for 2023 and beyond?
I'd love an element of calm. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Have a nice calm. I don't know. Always get me holidays in when I need them. I think that would be a good thing. No, I think like most people, I think, you know, we can look at just the trade, but I think we'll have to look at the wider view. I think people have a lot of concerns, Tom. You and I know different. Fundamentally, we're working, for respective businesses and such. But I think what will happen this year isn't just completely linked to the trade. I think we'll have to understand and acknowledge the fact that people have got concerns around, energy crisis and the cost of living. And I think without putting a dampener on that, we'll have to associate, what will happen this year to that kind of cost crisis. And, the reality is, if your utility bills have went up hundreds of pounds a year, is flooring still a luxury purchase? And in some places it actually will be. Yes, it's mandatory, but in some, some areas and people who don't have as much disposable income, they might just say, well, I'll just wait another year and I'll make that too. And I think we'll have to be realistic on that point. So we have to adjust our budgets and our expectations accordingly, which I think we will do. And like I say, I think a period of calm, not just for trade, but also for things like, the cost of materials and such, where we can actually just concentrate on being proactive as opposed to being reactive to external factors such as, costs and drivers around that. We want to really just develop with our partners, we want to really push some of these categories we mentioned earlier into the supply chain and spend money to market them effectively. And we can only do that with a calm and, a calm market instead of looking at.
And it could be positives for Egger, where the price of wood could get too much for a percentage of people. So people might go, the original wood clients could decide, I'm not going to say go backwards because that's unfair, but look for other alternatives at a cheaper rate, which is where, the laminate is always, not as Egger, but as a product range, the laminate has always been cheaper than a wood. It's sort of where the laminate finishes, the wood starts. And is it going to, if people are spending 20-30% less, is the market share laminate going to go up? We don't know,
Yeah, that's a great point, actually, because I'm fresh from a factory visit in Marges a number of weeks ago. And part of the innovation that we're talking for we'll have some new variants which are going to be available in the new year to drop into Egger branded offer. And one of the things that we looked at is, as you can imagine, when you do a lot of developments on decors as a large scale producer like Egger is, we tend to try and keep the developments in the medium to higher ticket items, because that's where you want to do the developments, where fresh and and higher ticket items. And then the commodity products like 7mm, you would think, well, actually they will maybe have a decor which is a decor paper which might be a couple of years old and it'll sell mostly on price. But as it happens, when we've looked at the development of new SKUs that we're going to be dropping in from January, we've also done some developments in 7mm as well, which is kind of like our lowest price point within collection product. So it's quite unusual that we've done that. But it's been with a view of the fact that we know that prices are going to be a big factor in people's choices across the next kind of 12 and 18 months, or even more so than ever. So we've had to take these considerations into place, that we're not just going to do what we want to do, we have to look what's happening in the market as well. And that's something that we'll have taken on board and try to think, where's the money going to be spent this year? And if you have got a little bit less money, you should be able to still have an attractive deco and something which is on trend and so on and so forth. And we'll have tried to do that.
Brilliant. So what we're going to do is the quick fire round, which is more about Craig James than Egger. So it's always a bit of fun for the end of the podcast. So let's have a get the questions out. So Domino's or Five Guys, and why?
Oh, I'm a Five Guys guy, I think. Because there's just something good about a dirty burger, isn't there? Let's be honest. If I'm in my suit and I'm going to see a customer, Five Guys is probably going to be off the menu. And again, I wouldn't be having a Domino's during the day as well. But I'm a Five Guys guy. But then, you don't get a physique like mine, Tom, by being choice. Someone puts a Domino's in front of us as well, I would still give it a hand.
I've got a little bit of a local story I've never shared on the podcast, but you'll know exactly where and what I'm referring to. So in the summer, I walked Hadrian's Wall, and we set off at the coast on the sort of on one side, and then walked towards Newcastle, and walked through the quayside, and then walked through Wallsend, which is a great area of the northeast. And we did it in 4 days, but from day 2, we agreed to go to Five Guys in Newcastle city centre. So what got me through the Hadrian's Wall 93 miles was Five Guys, Newcastle city centre, and we celebrated on the 4th day. So
Lovely.
I'm very au pair to the one, probably your local Five Guys, the one in the city centre.
Local, just across the bridge, and it's very much so. And I presume, if you went, 3 days walking Hadrian's Wall and you got a Five Guys, I would imagine all the calorie deficit you've had across them 3 days, you've certainly put back on just with one sitting of a good old Five Guys, because you can go a little bit over the top as well, can't you, on the calorie intake?
Oh, with the kid behind the counter, he even said, I think he must have known, because we had backpacks, and he was like, "Oh, I've made too many. Do you want extra couple of patties?" And I'm like, "Couple of extra patties?" Yeah, so this ended up about 12 inches high. But anyway, that's off subject. But yes, that was my choice, and we didn't go to Domino's. We went to Five Guys in Newcastle. So, sunbathing or skiing?
Oh God. You're going to disagree with this, Tom, but I'm going to say sunbathing, because I do like warmer weather. But the kind of the pale skin and such, and that might suggest other. To be honest with you, working for an Austrian company who's based in Tyrol, you'd think I should actually have had my fair share of skiing over the years. But when I've ever been to head office, it's only been about business. So I'm unfortunately, I've never managed to get my teeth into the skiing side as much as I would like. I might enjoy it. I think I would definitely love the social side of it. My understanding is that a lot of people who go skiing don't tend to do that much skiing. They just go to the bars up on the way up the mountain and have a few kind of schnapps and stuff. But no, generally speaking, I think I would be. I'm a fair weather guy, so definitely
with a hat on.
With a hat on. In fact, hanky on, not tied on the corner, the whole shebang. Yeah, proper British tourist.
Brilliant. Favorite drink, alcoholic or non-alcoholic?
Non-alcoholic.
What would it be?
I'm a Coca-Cola guy. Nice and easy. Should be probably more Coca-Cola, but I'm Coca-Cola as my go-to. Alcoholic would be. I would probably be. My go-to drink would be Morgan Spice and Coke. So it's Coke on both sides, but yes, Morgan Spice would be my alcoholic drink. So
not a German beer like we get at the shows and all that type of.
No, I mean I should say Egger beer, because of course as a bit a small production based in Austria. But what's swayed it for us, Tom, is that it's not available in the UK. So if I want to have a drink on a weekend, then I kind of just wait a year for an Egger beer. And so it would be that would be the easy choice. But no, I think from a personal point of view, I'm not a big kind of lager guy in that. In any ways, I'll have a pint, but I'm more of a spirits guy.
You could start a side hustle of Egger beer coming over on the trucks with all the.
Well,
that's an idea.
Because I think over the years, the amount of beer that I've given out, because normally what we normally get at Christmas time, well, we'll have the shows, as you know, and we'll get Egger beer across. We do try to give that to people as a nice gift, or for the events, we'll try to have an allocation of beer. And then also for Christmas, the staff get a slab or two, because of we'll bring it over. But we kind of really bring it over in massive quantities because of import reasons and tax and duty, I guess, is the big topic. But I've always given mine away, because like I say, I'm not normally a big lager drinker, because the Egger beer is actually produced. It doesn't have a lot of preservatives in it. It doesn't have a long shelf life. So you get the beer in, say, November, December time for your Christmas package, shall we say. But if you want to leave it till March, it'll normally be gone. So normally I would just dish out a few bottles and stuff. So there's a lot of people who have trialed Egger beer where you can't really buy it in the shops in the UK, and people love it. So you're right. I think if they would have managed to get around that import side and get some volume in, I think there'd be a lot of fans who would buy it.
If you're ever in that tragic position where you need to get rid of beer, there's a town called Darlington. We'll take any sort of handouts.
What's it's called? You put it on your shreddies in Darlington, don't you?
Obviously, yeah. And me cornflakes, everything's done. So, and the last question, second to last question: if you won £10 million on the lottery tonight, what would be the first 5 things you would do or buy?
The first 5 things. I think the first answer is you have to make sure that your family and stuff's financially sound. I think that's the first thing. So people have got mortgages and all that kind of stuff, and that you'd want to try and take care of that. don't know, that sounds pretty basic and stuff and that. I don't know. I mean, one thing I'd probably do is I'd probably have to tell Eggers of my intention that I might not be here for a long time. That has to be noted on there. I'll work for this, of course, Tom. I'm not,
Obviously, yeah.
you know, as a multi-millionaire, and I think I don't know if the guys above us would think that I'd have me focused fully on the job as well if I'm going to Barbados to do meetings every 2 weeks, so that might not work. No, I think yeah. Thirdly, I guess after that, I've kind of always had my dream car. One of my dream cars has always been a 911. I always kind of loved the idea of it, and I am a car guy, but I've never had a chance to do that. And I have been asking. I've just asked this morning actually, but it's not going to end up on the company car policy at Egger anytime soon as well. So I'd probably have to pull the pin on one of them as well. Mm. And I think the basic stuff's like just holidays and stuff and that. I don't think I'd stop, Tom, if I'm honest with you. I don't know if I have 5 answers for you, but I don't think I'd stop. I wouldn't just be like, oh, I've won 10 million quid, so now I'm retired. I would love to continue. I think I'm one of these people where I think I get bored. You know what I mean? Try the golf thing. I'm sometimes all right, sometimes I'm a little bit hit and miss. It's not for me full time. I don't think I would want to sit on the beach all the time. I want to be busy. So I think it would just be focused around, you know, doing something which interests us, but maybe, you know, having my own business or something like that. That would probably be something that would be something I would set up, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously
in flooring, distributing Egger flooring under.
That might be a thing. Yeah, 100%. I think I can certainly add some value. I'd just be a lot, like I say, maybe have less pressures on it against us on the background. But no, I think I would offer some value, and I like the idea of sales and stuff, and kind of like going back to the first question. I guess one of the big things for me is people. You know what I mean? So like, you know, whether that's in sales or in a development role within small businesses where I can add some value, I'd like to think that I can, without sounding like kind of cheesy or nothing, I'd like to think that some of the things that got us to where I am today would also, I could mentor some people who are starting off in business or might need a bit of sales support and do something along them lines. And I think to have that kind of financial support would certainly allow you to do that as well. There's a few charities that, for the fifth point, there's a few charities which are kind of local to where I grew up as well, which I think would benefit from a cash injection as well. So that would be something I'd look at as well.
And cars. So you're a car guy. What's the dream car apart from the 911 that's not going to happen on the company car register?
Well, it's a strange one, this, because I think you're asking because you know the answer as well. So this is the crap. But one of the dream cars is I've always, like, from a young age, I've always had this kind of there's 2 cars that I grew up like kind of really loving. One was the Mustang Fastback from the early kind of 60s, 70s, and the other one was a 944 turbo Porsche. Yep. I had one of them. I had it for 11 years. I've just sold it last year because I needed a little bit of work and I wasn't really getting into it. But I also managed to import an old Mustang a few years ago, which I've been restoring over the last kind of few years, and I'm lucky enough to have it. It's a summer car. I'm scared to drive it now, Tom, because it's been painted and all. But generally speaking, that's me dream car. So I do have. I'm lucky enough to have it, and you know, it's.
Does that look like the Eleanor off Gone in 60 Seconds? Is that the right? I'm not up on my Mustangs or like what. Is that the right car or site?
Shape mine. The Eleanor one's a little bit later, which they're a little bit more expensive because of the attachment to the movie. So people are trying to I think the 69, 70 year fastback, slightly different front end. You'll also be familiar with the one on John Wick, the movies as well. Yeah. Well, mine's a 66, so it's still a fastback, desirable car in basic kind of terms, but it's a little bit cheaper than the late 60s and early 70s ones because, like I say, that Eleanor thing has made them a little bit hard to get a hold of. But it is grey, so it looks like Eleanor, I guess, blind man galloping horse. But has
it got stripes on? Has it got the black stripes on or no?
Black painted. Yeah. So. Yeah.
So was it originally grey? You've imported. How do you go from not having one to then importing one and then painting it? How did that happen? Just out of interest.
It was a strange thing because like I've always had a bit of interest in like American stuff and that generally, and obviously I've had like Harley Davidson bikes and that's been that was my starting point for like doing carbureted engines, I guess. And I'm not mechanically inclined by any shape or form, but I'm one of them guys who's just willing to have a go. Typical Jarrah lad, actually, Tom. That's the.
You've got to up there, I mean, you've got to have a go.
Yeah, quite literally. So I just had a go, and it started off with some bikes and tinkering, and I built a chopper a few years ago, which I then sold. And I always had like a sidecar, which was something because I was just interested in it. And basically the opportunity come about in late 2019, where there was this guy who I'd been following for a number of years on YouTube, and he sold really high-end Mustangs, like really concourse condition, something which would never be something that I could afford or aspire to have. And he basically, on his YouTube video one day, he was talking about bringing in some projects. And I thought, I'm going to look at his website. Just coincidentally, he'd had the first project Mustang that he'd had in something like 8 years come into his shop.
Yeah.
And rang up the next day and I'd done a deal on it. And I basically bought it blind because it sounds really funny because, and you'll get listeners on the podcast who don't know you personally, but over time they'll listen to Tom and they'll go, oh, he's a nice guy. And they'll feel like they've got a relationship with you, but they don't even know who you are. And similarly with the guy, I'd watched his videos for 10 years and I kind of felt like I knew him, even though I didn't. So I trusted what he'd said on his listing. And basically the car come a few months later, I imported it myself, which was very kind enough to help us do that. And it came and it was exactly as was suggested. It was a very clean example. The paint was horrendous. It was needed a lot of the TLC around like the aesthetic side of the car, but mechanically it was sound, and it was basically it needed paint, body, and some internal kind of modifications and stuff to get it back up to speed and roadworthiness, and also looking nice. So I've had the pleasure of doing that for the last couple of years, and it's been like I say, a bit of a labour of love, but it's completely different to what it was. It was a factory colour, was like a limey kind of colour back in the day, and it would be rattle can head. The fender was doing today, and it was just a right clip. But now it's looking a little bit more presentable.
And have you had it out this summer, or is it just being finished? Or is it next year? It's coming out for its proper.
Yeah, it came out. It came out in I guess March time is what I would say. It came back out of paint. It took 2 months to get the guy who was kind enough to do as I know, and he had the car for basically 7 weeks, worked on it every day. So that shows the idea of what needed doing to it.
Wow.
He took care of that for us, and yeah, take it out on dry weather. Try to keep it. It sounds a little cheesy, but I'm trying to. I see myself as more of a custodian of it, although I own the car, because it's something just twice the age of me. So the idea is to not just thrash it and do anything bad with it. So I look after it, and then yeah, it's weekend car. If anyone wants to have a look at it, of course, I'm not precious over it. I let everyone jump in, like kids and stuff, that go to these car shows and just pop in. It's one of them things. But I'm planning on keeping it.
I think it's like everything. It's the story. I bought a Audi Coupe 91 18 months ago from a lad in Durham, and I noticed it on Facebook Marketplace, and I noticed the back end of the number plate, and it's this like turquoise bluey green color, and I was like, I remember that car. And my mum was the talk in Middlesbrough when we lived in Middlesbrough, that she bought this Audi Coupe, and everyone thought it was like a Lamborghini, she was like this, and it was a proper bit of kit when she bought it. It's only a 2-litre 16 valve anyway. She sold it, I think after 8 years, part exchanged it to car garage in Middlesbrough, and someone from Durham bought it, and then it came up on Facebook as this is my dad's old car. He used it as a second car for 20 years, and I'm looking at it going, that's my mum's old car. Went up Durham, and he had it up for sale, and my heart was telling me this and telling me that, and I said, look, if I tell you some information, would you sell it to me at the price I want? Because I don't think it's worth what you're asking, is me commercial mind is. And he said, well, I want it to go at the right person. So I think he had it up for $3,000. And I said, look, I think the car's worth 1,200 quid. And I'm saying that because it wants painting. It'd be $3,000 to paint it, and then it'll be a good car. And it turned out it was my mum's old car with two owners, my mum and this bloke's deceased estate. And now I currently have that in the back of my garage. That comes out twice a year to go to the local car show with the kids. And that'll just stay as it is. It's like having a wind back in time of all of them years I used to sit in it going to and from school. So it's I don't particularly think the car's amazing, but it's it's not a dream car, but it has sentimental value, and it is the right car, and it's got 100,000 miles on it, so it's not a bad little Audi Coupe. So
when people when you get car guys and that, people or girls, whatever the case may be, if people are really interested in that, I think from an external kind of point of view, people who don't like cars, they don't quite understand sometimes the emotional attachment like someone that can have with a car. It makes you sound a little bad when you talk about it, because But I've got some kind of stories as well on some of my dad's old cars and that. And I think, oh, like when they've been sold and stuff and that, like back in the day, and you think, oh, I wish that they never went. And like, you know what I mean? And if you get something and there's an attachment to it, I'm hoping that, the Mustang, similarly to your mum's Audi, will create similar memories as well for my kids and stuff. So it's nice, mate. I like it. It's nice to have.
I'd love to teach my kids to drive in it. I mean, it's a very expensive thing just to have sat there waiting for them both to turn 17, but I think that'd be a great achievement for them to certainly do some lessons in it. I think, because it'll be 35, 36-year-old once one of them's 17, and then probably 40-year-old once the other one's so that'll be a couple of learner plates on it. It'll be worth keeping. So
Tom, or has that not been painted yet?
No, it doesn't mean painted. No.
Well, it won't paint it right now. Then if they learn how to drive and you get any bumps, then it's nothing.
Yeah, I know it's another one like as you said, it needs doing properly. It's not bad, it just wants doing properly. So it's currently sat there under a sheet and it looks fine as it is, but you know when you look at these things, it's not just right. But anyway, so back to business, Craig. Yeah. If anyone's interested in Egger, the products, Mustangs or anything, what is the best way of reaching out to you?
So don't email us about Mustangs, because although I'll love to talk about it, I think I have to say times, and unfortunately, the bosses in Germany and that will not be too pleased. I'm just talking about cars. Saying that, actually, my boss is actually a car guy as well, so he probably wouldn't mind it anyways. But yeah, again, we should be talking shop, and then when we've done a little bit of shop talk, we can then talk about some flooring as well in between that as well. Yeah. But yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so of course Craig James at Egger. Certainly connect with us. And of course, my team as well. The team are always available and very happy to speak about product and, of course, point of sale requirements through distribution and such. So we can really help with that. I'm very happy to pass my email address on anybody. It's craig.james@egger.com. So for the benefit of the podcast, anyone who wants to talk about Egger or be directed on any of the Egger product, even if it's not flooring, if they find themselves in a quandary for something else, I'll certainly point them in the right direction. So that's a good route. And yeah, of course, I'm sure you're going to share the links on the podcast and to share any.
Fab. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, Craig. I've enjoyed this one, class.
I really appreciate you having us on. Like I say, hopefully it was good listening for people. We'll certainly find out.
I hope so. It might be the first complaints we'd had because we were on too much about cars, not about flying. But anyway,
too many northern. Have to put some, like some kind of text on the bottom to make sure that people are understanding the two northern guys knocking heads.
And we might do a translation as well. So
yeah,
northeast translation for all the other people across the country. So.
Without a doubt.